Welcome, chosen ones. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Romans 12:2. Being a chosen one is no small thing. It's not about fame, power, or even recognition. It's about carrying a unique purpose that sets you apart. You see the world differently, feel things others ignore, and often walk a path that feels like it was carved just for you. But with this gift comes a hard truth. You can't be around everyone. Why? Because not everyone will understand you. Some people will drain your energy, mock your vision, or try to pull you into their small-minded games. You weren't made for that. You were made to think deeper, aim higher, and live freer than the crowd. This isn't about isolation, it's about alignment. When you limit who you spend your time with, you open up space for clarity, growth, and real connections that fuel your purpose. If this resonates with you, stick around. In this video, we'll dive deep into why chosen ones naturally avoid crowds, and why that's a sign of your strength, not weakness. Let's uncover your truth. Number 1. The need for mental clarity is non-negotiable. For chosen ones, mental clarity isn't just important, it's essential for their very existence. Their minds are like finely tuned instruments, capable of processing complex thoughts, ideas, and emotions. But that precision comes with a demand for peace. When they're surrounded by people, the noise isn't limited to conversations or laughter. It's the mental chatter, the subtle projections, the unspoken chaos that fills the air. Crowds are like static for a chosen one's mind. Every person brings their energy, their thoughts, their distractions. It's like trying to read a novel in the middle of a blaring concert, impossible to focus, impossible to think. Their natural ability to connect with deeper truths and ideas becomes muddled, buried under the weight of other people's noise. This isn't about being antisocial or aloof. It's about preserving the one thing that keeps them grounded, their clarity. Without it, they can't make the decisions or take the steps that align with their purpose. They can't tap into the inner wisdom that guides them through life's complexities. In a room full of people, that inner voice is drowned out, leaving them disconnected from their own thoughts. So they step away, not because they dislike others, but because they need space to think clearly and stay aligned with their higher path. Their purpose requires focus, and focus requires quiet. In solitude, their thoughts breathe, expand, and evolve. It's in that silence where their ideas flourish, their visions sharpen, and their strength renews. This isn't weakness, it's discipline. They've learned that clarity is their power, and protecting it is non-negotiable. They'll choose peace over noise every time, because they know their greatness depends on it. Number 2. They can't stand pretentiousness. Chosen ones have a radar for authenticity, and pretentiousness sets it blaring. They see through the masks people wear, the forced laughter, the exaggerated stories, the carefully curated personas designed to impress. To them, it's not just unappealing, it's unbearable. Pretentiousness feels like an insult to the deeper truths they value so deeply. In groups, appearances often take center stage. People act a certain way to fit in, say things to gain approval, or project an image that has little to do with who they really are. Chosen ones find this exhausting. They don't have the patience to decode someone's intentions or sift through layers of pretense to find the truth. Their mind naturally gravitates toward substance, real conversations, raw emotions, and unfiltered thoughts. When faced with facades, they feel like they're wasting their time. It's not just about disliking phoniness, it's about how it clashes with their core values. Chosen ones are built for authenticity. They crave connections that are grounded in honesty, where there's no need for exaggeration or showmanship. Pretentiousness, on the other hand, feels hollow and performative, a distraction from what truly matters. When they're in a group filled with false narratives, it's like walking through a maze of smoke and mirrors. Their intuition screams to get out because there's nothing meaningful to be found there. They know their time and energy are better spent elsewhere, on people and pursuits that align with their truth. This intolerance for pretense isn't arrogance, it's clarity. Chosen ones have no interest in impressing or being impressed by facades. They're here for what's real, and they refuse to settle for anything less. Number 3. Their energy is limited and sacred. Chosen ones understand something most people don't. Energy is currency, and theirs is precious. They don't have the luxury of spending it on things or people that don't matter. For them, every interaction is an exchange, and not all exchanges are worth it. Some people uplift and inspire, but others take and take, leaving nothing in return. The latter are the ones chosen ones simply cannot tolerate. Their energy isn't infinite. It's carefully cultivated through introspection, solitude, and meaningful pursuits. They've learned the hard way that spreading themselves too thin, giving too much to the wrong people, leaves them drained, unfocused, and disconnected from their purpose. So they guard it fiercely. This isn't selfishness, it's survival. Chosen ones carry a weight that others don't. They're often the ones people turn to for advice, support, or understanding. While they're naturally empathetic and generous, they know their limits. They can't pour into others endlessly without taking the time to refill their own cup. This is why they're selective about who they spend time with. They avoid energy vampires, those who thrive on drama, negativity, or constant neediness. It's not about judging others. It's about recognizing what aligns with their purpose and what doesn't. Their energy is sacred because it fuels their mission, their growth, and their ability to make a real impact. Wasting it on meaningless interactions or draining relationships feels like a betrayal of everything they're meant to do. Chosen ones don't shy away from saying no, stepping back, or cutting ties when necessary. They know that protecting their energy isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. It's the only way they can stay true to themselves and the path they're meant to walk. Number 4, they're magnetized by purpose, not people. Chosen ones operate on a different wavelength. They don't gravitate toward people simply for companionship or socializing. For them, it's never about the crowd, it's about the calling. A room full of people, no matter how lively or engaging, holds no allure if there's no shared purpose or direction. Without that deeper sense of meaning, it all feels like empty noise. This is because chosen ones are wired to pursue missions, not mingling. Their focus is locked on values, visions, and goals that resonate with their inner truth. They're not interested in being the life of the party or making endless connections. What matters to them is alignment, finding those rare moments and people who share a common drive for something bigger than themselves. A purposeless crowd is draining because it lacks substance. Small talk, surface-level interactions, and idle chatter leave them restless and unfulfilled. Chosen ones would rather spend an hour in deep conversation with one like-minded individual than waste a day navigating meaningless group dynamics. When they do connect with people, it's because those individuals are aligned with their vision or values. It's never about quantity, it's about quality. They seek relationships and interactions that amplify their mission, not distract from it. This isn't about dismissing others, it's about staying true to their purpose. For chosen ones, purpose is magnetic. It pulls them toward what matters and away from what doesn't. They're not here to blend in or go along with the crowd. They're here to pursue something greater, and that focus demands their time, energy, and attention. Anything that doesn't contribute to that purpose is simply noise, and they've learned to tune it out. Number 4, crowds amplify their existential loneliness. Chosen ones often experience a paradox that most people can't understand. The bigger the crowd, the lonelier they feel. It's not because they're antisocial or ungrateful for company, it's because their internal wiring doesn't sync with the surface-level energy of most group dynamics. Being surrounded by people who don't see the world the way they do only magnifies their sense of detachment. In a room full of small talk, laughter, and shared experiences, chosen ones often feel like outsiders looking in. Their thoughts are deeper, their questions bigger, their focus sharper. While others are content with the moment, they're pondering the meaning behind it all. This disconnect can feel isolating no matter how many people are around. The truth is, chosen ones crave connection, but not the kind you find in crowds. They yearn for relationships that resonate on a soul level, conversations that challenge their perspective, interactions that spark genuine growth, and moments that feel real and purposeful. But these are rare, especially in large groups where fitting in often takes precedence over authenticity. What amplifies this loneliness is their self-awareness. Chosen ones know they're different. And that knowledge becomes even clearer when surrounded by people who don't share their depth. It's like being a lighthouse in a sea of boats, standing strong and purposeful, but undeniably alone. This isn't a weakness, it's a reflection of their unique design. Their path was never meant to be crowded. They were built for something more solitary, more intentional. And while the loneliness can sting, it's also a reminder of their calling, a calling that demands they walk their own road, even if it means walking alone. Number 5. They see through everyone, and it's exhausting. Chosen ones have a knack for seeing through people in ways that most can't comprehend. It's not just about reading body language or picking up on subtle cues. It's an innate ability to sense what's beneath the surface. They see the fears hidden behind bravado, the insecurities masked by arrogance, and the lies woven into everyday words. While this ability sounds like a superpower, it's not always a blessing. In fact, it can be utterly exhausting. Imagine walking into a room and instantly feeling the weight of everyone's hidden truths. You're not just hearing what people say, you're understanding what they mean, often things they don't even realize they're projecting. A joke isn't just a joke, it's a shield for pain. A compliment isn't always genuine, sometimes it's a weapon disguised in kindness. For chosen ones, these realizations aren't a choice. They happen automatically, whether they want them to or not. This level of insight is draining. Being around too many people means dealing with an avalanche of unfiltered truths, contradictions, and emotional baggage that isn't even their own. It's like carrying a heavy backpack of information they never asked for. And the worst part, they can't turn it off. It's not that they don't care about others, quite the opposite. But constantly navigating this flood of emotional and psychological data leaves little room for their own peace of mind. It's overwhelming to the point where solitude becomes not just a preference but a necessity. To outsiders, their withdrawal might seem cold or distant, but it's really about survival. Chosen ones need space to decompress and release the truths they've absorbed. It's the only way they can protect their energy and maintain the clarity that makes them who they are. Number 6, they're hypersensitive to hidden agendas. Chosen ones possess a rare and powerful intuition, a sixth sense that picks up on hidden agendas the moment they enter a room. They don't need to be told that someone is scheming or trying to manipulate the situation. They can feel it in the energy, the subtle shifts in behavior, and the unspoken intentions that others overlook. This radar is always on, and it makes navigating crowds a mental and emotional minefield. In a room full of people, there's always someone with a hidden agenda. Whether it's someone trying to gain favor, use others for personal gain, or shift the dynamics to their advantage, chosen ones can see through the facades and spot the manipulation with startling clarity. This doesn't just make them cautious, it makes them uncomfortable. They can't engage with people who aren't being honest, and it drains them to have to constantly navigate the layers of deception that lie beneath social interactions. The problem is, not everyone else sees what they see. Most people get caught up in the moment or focus on the surface-level conversations, missing the undercurrents of ulterior motives that chosen ones can't ignore. This creates an inherent sense of alienation, because while others might be happy to go along with the game, chosen ones can't help but feel like they're walking through a minefield, always on edge, waiting for the next hidden motive to explode. Their hypersensitivity to these hidden agendas isn't a flaw, it's a gift. It protects them from being taken advantage of, but it also makes it incredibly difficult to trust others. They're constantly sifting through the noise, trying to find someone who's truly authentic, someone whose intentions align with their own. Until then, they prefer to keep their distance, because the more people they encounter with hidden agendas, the more they long for the rare piece of genuine, transparent connection. Number 7, they need time to recharge their minds. For chosen ones, social interactions aren't just draining. They're like a slow leak of energy that empties their mental battery. While others might bounce back quickly after a social gathering, chosen ones need time to process, reset, and recharge. The noise, the emotions, the constant influx of thoughts from others all chip away at their focus, their clarity, and their sense of self. Without solitude, they lose touch with their core. Their minds are like fine-tuned instruments, and too much external stimulation can throw everything off balance. The chatter, the conflicting opinions, the demands of social expectations, it all adds up, overwhelming their mental space. To stay aligned with their purpose and maintain their inner peace, they need time alone to filter out the noise and reconnect with their true essence. It's not that they don't enjoy meaningful connections or conversations. They do. But for chosen ones, those connections have to be genuine and purposeful, not just idle or fleeting. After an overload of social energy, they retreat to recharge because without that solitude, they risk losing sight of what really matters. They risk becoming lost in the chaos of others' energy and priorities. Solitude isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. It's the time they need to realign, to reflect, and to recalibrate their mind so that they can stay true to themselves and their higher calling. Without that quiet space, their purpose would become blurry, their energy scattered. Time alone is their way of refueling, not out of desire for isolation, but out of necessity to maintain their focus, clarity, and authenticity. Number 8. Authenticity is hard to find in a crowd. Chosen ones don't have time for shallow interactions. They don't want to hear the same recycled small talk or feel the pressure to fit into some socially acceptable mold. Authenticity is like air to them. It's something they need to breathe, to thrive, and to feel grounded. Yet in a crowd, it's almost impossible to find. The more people there are, the less likely they are to encounter true, meaningful connection. In a room full of faces, it's easy for conversations to turn into performances. People put on their best versions of themselves, carefully curating what they say to fit in, impress, or avoid conflict. This leaves little room for the raw, unfiltered honesty that chosen ones crave. They can feel the difference instantly, the disconnect between what people say and what they truly mean. And that's what makes being around large groups feel so empty. Chosen ones thrive on substance. They need conversations that challenge them, that provoke deep thinking, that make them feel like they're truly being seen and heard. In crowds, that's rare. Most people are too wrapped up in maintaining their image or following the social flow to offer anything real. It becomes a game of pretending, where everyone plays along but nobody wins. For chosen ones, this isn't just disappointing, it's suffocating. It chips away at their spirit to be surrounded by facades instead of authentic connections. They would rather spend time with one person who speaks from the heart than sit in a room full of people who are only sharing the parts of themselves they think are acceptable. True connection is sacred, and it's too valuable to waste on anything less. Number 9. They see through everyone, and it's exhausting. Chosen ones have a knack for seeing through people in ways that most can't comprehend. It's not just about reading body language or picking up on subtle cues. It's an innate ability to sense what's beneath the surface. They see the fears hidden behind bravado, the insecurities masked by arrogance, and the lies woven into everyday words. While this ability sounds like a superpower, it's not always a blessing. In fact, it can be utterly exhausting. Imagine walking into a room and instantly feeling the weight of everyone's hidden truths. You're not just hearing what people say, you're understanding what they mean. Often things they don't even realize they're projecting. A joke isn't just a joke, it's a shield for pain. A compliment isn't always genuine. Sometimes it's a weapon disguised in kindness. For chosen ones, these realizations aren't a choice. They happen automatically, whether they want them to or not. This level of insight is draining. Being around too many people means dealing with an avalanche of unfiltered truths, contradictions, and emotional baggage that isn't even their own. It's like carrying a heavy backpack of information they never asked for. And the worst part? They can't turn it off. It's not that they don't care about others. Quite the opposite. But constantly navigating this flood of emotional and psychological data leaves little room for their own peace of mind. It's overwhelming to the point where solitude becomes not just a preference, but a necessity. To outsiders, their withdrawal might seem cold or distant, but it's really about survival. Chosen ones need space to decompress and release the truths they've absorbed. It's the only way they can protect their energy, and maintain the clarity that makes them who they are. Number 10. They feel everything, sometimes too much. Chosen ones don't just walk into a room, they feel it. Every emotion, every unspoken tension, every flicker of joy or sadness becomes a part of their experience. It's as if their senses are tuned to a frequency most people don't even know exists. This isn't a skill they learned or a switch they can turn off. It's part of who they are. And while it gives them an unmatched ability to understand and empathize with others, it also comes at a cost. Being around too many people can feel overwhelming because it's never just about the conversations or the noise, it's about the energy. They pick up on the anxiety of the person who's smiling but struggling inside. They notice the subtle resentment behind polite words or the silent cry for help from someone trying to act strong. These emotional undercurrents seep into them, whether they want them to or not. This isn't about being fragile, it's about being deeply attuned. Imagine trying to juggle your own emotions while involuntarily carrying pieces of everyone else's. That's the weight a chosen one bears in crowded spaces. Over time, it becomes suffocating. Their mind feels cluttered, their energy drained, and their sense of self blurred by the sheer volume of emotions they've absorbed. This is why they pull away, not out of arrogance, but out of necessity. They need space to process, to breathe, and to find their own balance again. It's in solitude where they recharge and realign with their purpose. The world may never understand this sensitivity, but it's not for the world to judge. It's the very thing that makes them unique, an emotional depth that few can match, but everyone needs. Number 11. They don't play by social rules. Chosen ones don't fit into society's neat little boxes. They weren't made to follow unwritten rules about how to act, think, or live. Those rules, designed to maintain order and encourage conformity, might work for the majority, but chosen ones see them for what they are. Limits on individuality. The second someone says, "This is how it's done," a chosen one's instinct kicks in to ask, "But why?" In large groups, this nonconformity becomes a glaring issue. Groups demand harmony, and harmony often requires everyone to fall in line. There's an unspoken expectation to blend in, agree with the majority, and prioritize unity over authenticity. For a chosen one, this is suffocating. Their individuality isn't something they can suppress, nor would they want to. Conforming for the sake of social rules feels like betraying their true self. This isn't about rebellion for rebellion's sake. Chosen ones don't reject social norms just to stand out. They reject them when they clash with their values, their purpose, or their logic. They can't pretend to agree when they don't, laugh when something isn't funny, or engage in rituals that feel meaningless. Large groups often magnify this pressure to conform, making them feel like a square peg being forced into a round hole. So they opt out, not out of disdain for people, but out of respect for themselves. They value their individuality more than they fear judgment. They'd rather stand alone in their truth than lose themselves in a crowd. And while this sets them apart, it's also what makes them powerful. By refusing to play by society's rules, they create their own path, one that's true to their unique design and unshakable purpose. Numbers 12. They simply don't need validation. Chosen ones don't chase validation because they've already found their sense of self-worth. Unlike many who look for external approval to feel validated, they've realized that true value comes from within. They don't need applause, likes, or praise to know who they are or what they're capable of. They understand that the crowd's opinion is fleeting, and often it's shaped by superficial standards that don't align with their own truth. Their worth is self-defined, not contingent on what others think or say. This isn't about arrogance or indifference. It's about inner confidence that comes from knowing their purpose and their path. They've learned to trust their own judgment, even when the world around them is clamoring for attention or approval. While others may bend to social pressures, chosen ones walk their own path, free from the need for external affirmation. In fact, they've discovered that solitude brings a clarity and freedom that crowds can't offer. Being alone allows them to hear their own thoughts, feel their own desires, and reconnect with their purpose without the noise of others' opinions clouding their judgment. They don't need to be told they're enough. They already know it. This understanding liberates them from the constant scramble for validation that many are trapped in. For chosen ones, their journey is about self-acceptance and inner strength. They don't need the approval of others to walk confidently in their truth. They've come to realize that no matter how loud the crowd gets, they are already enough, just as they are. And that truth gives them the freedom to keep moving forward, undistracted by the fleeting opinions of others. Number 13. Their silence intimidates others. Chosen ones don't feel the need to fill every silence with words. They're often the quietest person in the room, observing the dynamics, watching people, and processing what's happening around them. This silence, however, tends to have a magnetic effect on others. It unnerves them in ways they can't quite explain. People don't know how to handle someone who isn't constantly talking, someone who doesn't feel the need to perform for attention or validation. To most, silence is uncomfortable. It invites scrutiny and forces people to reflect on their own behavior, especially when they can't read the person across from them. So when they encounter a chosen one, they often misinterpret the quiet as arrogance or aloofness, something that's meant to put them at a distance. They feel challenged, unsure, and perhaps even insecure because chosen ones don't play into the usual social game of small talk and superficial pleasantries. But this silence isn't a shield or an attempt to dominate. It's simply a chosen one's way of being present in the moment without adding to the noise. Yet, for others, this absence of constant chatter feels like a threat to the social order. They can't figure out why the chosen one doesn't engage the way they do, so they overcompensate by trying too hard to break the silence, often making the situation feel more forced and uncomfortable. This dynamic creates an uncomfortable tension. What's intended as a peaceful observation is often misread as distance or disdain, leaving chosen ones in an unbearable situation. Their silence doesn't make them less engaged or less present. It simply makes them immune to the pressures of social performance. But for those who need constant reassurance through conversation, it becomes a puzzle that they feel compelled to solve. But listen, chosen ones. As we wrap up, being a chosen one means understanding that you're wired differently. And that's something to embrace, not fight. It's not about being better than anyone else. It's about having a unique path, one that doesn't always align with the masses. The reason you can't be around a lot of people isn't because you're antisocial, but because your energy, mind, and soul operate at a frequency that requires space to thrive. You're not built to blend into the noise. You're meant to stand out and carve your own way, even if it means walking alone sometimes. People often misinterpret your need for solitude as coldness, but in reality, it's a form of self-preservation. You need time to recharge, to clear your mind, and to stay grounded in your purpose. You don't need the crowd's approval because you've already learned the most important lesson. Your worth is self-defined. You have a vision that's far beyond the surface-level connections that people usually offer. You see the world differently, and that's a gift, not a curse. So don't apologize for needing space. Don't let the world make you feel like you're missing out because you choose to protect your energy. You're not here to be a part of the crowd. You're here to lead, to create, and to do things your own way. Embrace your solitude. It's where your clarity, creativity, and strength are born. Keep walking your path with confidence, knowing that the right people, the ones who truly understand you, will find their way to you when the time is right. You're not meant for the noise. You're meant for something far greater. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Bye for now, and stay blessed.